a lot of times when I'm talking to a runner, they will tell me their goals, and very common, they want a PR, they want a BQ. A really common one is, I'd like it to be easier. I don't want it to hurt so much when I'm in the race. And I think that comes from you watch the elites and they make it look so easy. What they don't realize is that we don't train to make it easier, we train to get faster. And the fact of the matter is, most of the time, what you really need to do is learn how to embrace the pain. So let me get into embracing the pain. Now, really, there are only two ways that you're likely to run a race and not have a degree of pain. And pain is kind of like the metaphor for the suffering, your brain yelling at you, can't go this fast, etc. I'm not talking about your foot's ready to fall off from pain, that type of thing, but that suffering that goes on in the race. So number one, you could always dial it back. Instead of running at that 95 to 100% effort for that race, you could say I'm going to run 85 or 90%. There's nothing wrong with that. That will in fact make it easier. It's probably not going to get you to your BQ or your PR, but you can do that to make it easier. The other way is every now and then we have what I call a unicorn race where there is no discomfort. You just have this race where it feels easy, it flows. I have had that once for sure, maybe twice in 20 years. It's not very often, but that might happen. So for the most part, you really need to learn to embrace the pain. So let's talk about that pain. I think you can divide every race into thirds, from a 5, even a mile. Every race up into thirds. In that first third of the race, roughly, you're thinking like, you know what, I got this. You're probably feeling pretty good about things. In that second third, you're starting to say, this is getting hard. Obviously, more at the end of that second third than at the beginning of that third. And then for that final third, it's like, whose idea was this? I'm never doing this distance again. This sucks. I can't do that. And you'll see pretty much every race works that way. So if you're doing a 5K, that's for about a mile that it kind of sucks. For a half marathon, it kind of sucks about 4 miles. For a full, it's for about 8 miles. Obviously, that varies from person to person, the intensity level that you're going after. But that's one of the reasons that marathons are so challenging is you've got a long ways in there where it doesn't feel very good, where you've really got to be able to push through, and that's a challenge to do. So as I said, what you need to do is learn to embrace the pain. So why should I say you have to embrace the pain? Because that's what's supposed to happen. It's not that we want you to be in pain, but the reality is if you are pushing your limits, you're going for that PR, you're going for that BQ, which I guess would be a PR for a lot of people anyway. If you are really going after it, giving everything you have, in that last third of the race, it's going to be hard. I will guarantee it's hard for the elites as well. They may not show it on their face, but they've got better at deal with it. So you've got to embrace that. You've got to realize that happened. It's not going to go away. How you deal with that varies from person to person. There's all kinds of little tricks you can have. And I think for everybody, one of the first tricks is to realize this should be happening. So when it starts getting hard, rather than going, oh, this hard, this sucks, it should be like, yes, it's getting hard. It means I'm doing what I've trained to do. I'm where I'm supposed to be. It's not supposed to be easy. It's supposed to be hard. So embrace that pain. Deal with it. How do you deal with it? So I'll give you an example from myself recently on how I do it. Doesn't mean that's what works for you. And in fact, there's a lot of other ways that you can deal with it. And I'd love to get comments from people on what that is. So I was doing a marathon recently. Goal number 1 was to finish that marathon. Goal number 2 was to get underneath 340 if I could. So the reason I said to finish, first of all, for a marathon, it's almost always to finish. This particular race, actually, I started out with a goal that I wanted to be under 330, maybe even 325 if it was a great day. I've had some problems with my left piriformis and hamstring. Flat shut me down for an entire week, 4 weeks out from the marathon. I didn't even think I was going to get there. I thought there was a reasonable chance it was going to stop me from finishing the race, but as this particular race was 8 loops of a course, I knew it was easy that if my leg became an issue, I could just simply stop the race rather than being out in the middle of nowhere. So finishing was really a big thing, but if it became evident I was going to be able to finish, then my next thing was, can I get this under 340? Why did I want under 340? It's a vanity type thing. Under 340 would mean I would have a BQ for my age group of over 15 minutes. So I kind of wanted that if I could get it, but the first thing was to finish. So what did I do in this particular race? So it was only about 3.2 miles of these loops that I was going to have to worry about any level of pain because I'd already made a decision that I'm going the first 7, if I can do those, at a little bit more moderate of a pace to make sure that I could finish the race. And then if I had something left, I was going after it in the end. So that's a lot later than you might normally do that in a marathon, so that was different for me. So first I embraced it. When it started getting hard, I said, okay, I've trained for this, and I have to do it less time than most people need to do. This is okay. It's supposed to be hard. I also focused a lot on the task at hand. In other words, I never thought about, oh my God, I've got to do this for another 2.5 miles or whatever is left. I broke it up into little chunks. Now I knew this course really well. So it was, okay, I just have to make it to Larry's house. Then from Larry's house, I just have to make it to the bridge. Then I just have to make it to the caboose. So I had these spots I had to make it to. I never thought about being in this pain for the 3.2 miles or 22 minutes or whatever it is. I broke it up into little chunks. The other thing, and this is a big thing for me, and I do this in a lot of races, I imagined myself finishing, and the clock says 3:40:01. And I've had that happen before, maybe not by a second, where I have missed some target by just a couple of seconds. So I thought about that every time my brain was saying, you know what, you can slow down a little bit, you've got this. I should also add, I really didn't know where I was at. I was following a pacer for the first 7 miles. I didn't have pace on my watch. I didn't know how close I was. I kind of knew where the pacers were at, so I knew that it was going to be, I could get close to the end of 3:40. But I kept thinking, if I get to the finish line and it says 3:40:01, I'm going to live with that pain for the rest of my life, for the coming months. Surely the next week, I'm going to be pissed at myself that I gave up. So I got to push through. I got to deal with the fact that I've got a few minutes of pain here because I can't tolerate the fact that I'm going to see 3:40:01. Just not acceptable. And that helped keep me going. I was shocked when I get there and I see 3:38:17. Actually, it was a little bit over 17 because the clock started before I hit the start line. But let me tell you, as I saw the clock and I saw 3:38 at all, there was no more pain for the rest of that. It was just flying through going, holy crap, I'm wearing a 3:40. I've got this. So those are things for me. And as I said, that last one is a big one. I think about missing it by a second, and that's not going to do it. I had one race where I had live track enabled, so I knew that people were kind of watching to see how I was doing. I say, if I slow down, they're going to be able to tell. I can't slow down. I don't want people to know that. But again, those are things that work for me. I think for all of us, we need to learn to embrace the pain, to know that it's going to happen, to know that it's kind of a good thing that it's happening. It means we're running hard. It's doing what we train for. But I'd love to hear what works for you, because there are all kinds of tips. So try and comment down below what works for you. How do you embrace the pain?